weekend, a changing the guard for the England cricket team. Welcome to the Sports Playbook. I am Daniel, and we are Australia's weekly sports news podcast covering men's and women's sport. So here's everything that happened this weekend in sports. In cricket, Brendon McCullum has been sacked as England's Test coach. The ECB, the England Cricket Board, has announced that McCallum, who is the inventor of Bazball, would step down as England's head coach, but he will continue to lead England's white ball team, so the ODI and T20 teams. What's interesting here is McCallum has been in this position for 4 years. He's had 27 wins, 20 losses, and about 8 draws. And the position of Brendon McCullum came under fire when England took on Australia in the recent Ashes, where Australia beat England 4-1 on Australian soil. The ECB will be looking to pick England's new Test captain in the coming weeks. In tennis, Jannik Sinner wins back-to-back Wimbledon titles. For Jannik Sinner, he defended his Wimbledon crown. The number 1 seed faced off against Alexander Zverev in the final at Wimbledon, and Zverev got off to the better start, winning the first set. But in a 3-hour, 46-minute display, this is where Sinner came into his own. He went on to win the final 3 sets and went on to win his second Wimbledon crown. For Jannik Sinner, this is his first Grand Slam victory of 2026, and his last one came back at Wimbledon in 2025. In the women's final, Linda Noskova beat Caroline Muchova. This is the 3rd Czech player in the last 4 years to win the Wimbledon women's final game. And this game went to 3 sets, so it went all the way. In the NRL, the Sharks have their biggest win in 10 years. The Sharks travelled to Redcliffe to take on the Dolphins, and the Dolphins got absolutely humiliated. The Sharks, they defeated the Dolphins 66-0. That's their biggest win since 2016, and Nicho Hynes scored 30 points for the Sharks in an impressive display for this side. In the other games, the Warriors beat the West Tigers 32-6, and for the Tigers, the last week has been all throughout the media, especially through Jerome Luai, who we'll get into later in this episode. In the other games, the Bulldogs, they got defeated by the Raiders 40-16, and it wasn't without scare, as Stephen Crichton went down with what looked to be a nerve injury. He got hit by the side whilst attacking that Raiders line. Crichton had to be stretchered off, but looks to be walking around and looks to be okay. But a scary sight not only for Crichton, but for Bulldogs fans in general. The Sydney Roosters, they took on the Parramatta Eels, and this game had a little bit more to it, because for the Roosters, they were celebrating Daniel Tupou. For Tupou, this was his 300th NRL game. He made his debut back in 2011, and he was a try-scoring machine in this game. He scored a double, and the Roosters went on to win 28-12. The Rabbitohs played against the Knights, and this was a special one because the NRL made Try July for everyone to get behind Jai Arrow. Over 30,000 fans were in attendance to watch the Rabbitohs beat the Knights in a massive game, 26-24. For the Knights, this knocks them outside of that top 4, which they were pushing for. For Manly, they got defeated by the Cowboys in Golden Point. This is one of their first losses at Four Pines Park under new coach Kieran Foran. And the Storm, they were pushed the whole way. They just defeated the Gold Coast Titans only by 4 points with minutes remaining. In the AFL, Fremantle fly high. In the first game of the round, Fremantle took on the Sydney Swans, 1v2, a top of the table clash. And for the Swans, they got off to the better start and were actually leading going into halftime. But Fremantle came home with a wet sail and they smashed the Swans by 38 points. Fremantle continued to lead the AFL competition by over 8 points now, which is 2 wins. Collingwood got a close victory up against North Melbourne only by 4 points, but what this does is it actually helps their wildcard chances heading into the final round of the competition. St Kilda also got a really important win against Adelaide to elevate their wildcard chances. The GWS Giants continue to knock off contenders in the AFL competition. They beat the Geelong Cats by 13 points in Sydney. But Carlton's 7-game winning streak unfortunately came to an end. This was snapped by Hawthorn with a massive victory of over 70 points. The Adelaide Crows, the Western Bulldogs, Melbourne Demons and the Brisbane Lions all got respective wins to help their chances heading into the final series. In football, the World Cup semi-finals are locked in. France, they beat Morocco 2-0, and Spain, they took on Belgium in the second semi-final, and Spain won this affair 2-1, which sets up France against Spain in an interesting affair to come from this one. But in one of the biggest games of the quarterfinal, England took on Norway, and this was a tight contest, with England scoring just before half-time to equalise 1-1, and then Jude Bellingham, one of the most amazing strikers for England, he got England's second goal in the 93rd minute. England went on to win this game, not going through extra time. So England go through to the semi-finals, and now they can say it's very close to coming home. But their biggest match comes through this next game, because Argentina, they took on Switzerland, and Argentina won 3-1, which means in the second semi-final, England will take on Argentina. That is the pick of the semi-final. These games, France against Spain, is on Wednesday the 15th of July at 5 a.m. and England taking on Argentina is the day after, Thursday the 16th of July. So now it's time to get into the big talking point from the week. This week, it's NRL and it's Jarome Luai leaving the West Tigers. So what has happened here? The West Tigers have formally announced this week that Jarome Luai will be leaving the West Tigers at the end of 2026. And what this means for Jarome and the West Tigers is they've both only fulfilled 2 years of a 5-year contract. However, the caveat here is there was a lot of player options that was in Jarome's favour. But this is what got him to the West Tigers in the first place. Without those player options, it was unlikely that Luai would have left the Penrith Panthers in the first place. But for Jarome, he's been in the media for the last 2 months, particularly because Jarome announced he was player 001 heading to the PNG Chiefs. Because of this, we knew that Jarome Luai's last game for the Tigers would be the end of 2027, before the Chiefs come in 2028. But what's happened here is the West Tigers are looking to free up some salary cap space. And this is because they want to sign some big players on long-term contracts, mainly the Fainu brothers. And without doing this, they had to get rid of Luai to free up that salary cap space. So the question is, where does Jarome Luai actually go to next? And there's a couple of factors here. The first big one is Jarome has a young family, so he'd have to uplift them already to PNG. But this is a sacrifice that Jarome and his family will be making for a couple of years. But for 2027, it's unlikely that he'll move out of the Sydney area to keep stability with his young family. The first option is the Parramatta Eels. They might be looking to get Luai to the club under a 1-year contract. They've indicated interest and he could very likely go to the Parramatta Eels. Now, Ronald Volkman has been told from the Parramatta Eels he will not be able to extend his contract at Parramatta beyond this year. So what that means, it's very likely that Parramatta will make a play at Jarome Luai. If this does happen, what it will mean is the reuniting of Mitch Moses and Jarome Luai. These two paired together for New South Wales back in the State of Origin series of 2024. We know what happened here. These two turned it on and won the series for New South Wales in the decider at Suncorp Stadium. An outside option, but not very likely, is the Perth Bears. The Perth Bears, there's been a lot of media about them not having a marquee signing. But that would mean Luai and his family would have to go to Perth before they went to Papua New Guinea 1 year later. But it's not out of the question. It's probably more unlikely than likely, but it's still a contender. So my guess is Luai could be ending up at the Parramatta Eels for the 2027 season under a 1 year contract. And with that, we head into the state of play. Where are things at in the NRL and AFL competition? For the NRL, the Penrith Panthers have a 2-game winning gap against the rest of the competition. The closest rival is the Warriors, followed by the Roosters and the Sharks. That is your top 4. The Knights, the Rabbitohs, Dolphins and Cowboys, they round out the top 8. And 4 points separate second position from 8th position. And in the AFL, Fremantle lead with 60 points, followed by the Swans, Hawthorn, Brisbane Lions, Crows and the Melbourne Demons to round out that top 6. The Western Bulldogs, Collingwood, Geelong and St Kilda, they round out the wildcard positions. So that is the top 10. What this means though, from 9th position all the way through to 13th is separated by less than 1 win. So what this means is that margin will get ever closer as we head into that final series. Points and difference is what it will come down to clinch those wildcard positions. That is your Monday wrap. So on Thursday, I'll be back with the week's big stories and everything coming up this weekend in sports. So until then, follow the Sports Playbook wherever you listen to your podcast and follow the Sports Playbook on all social accounts. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great day and we will catch you on the next episode.